But I also want you not to take this organization for granted. I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction, great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. Thank you very much.
Worth a revisit. You know, emotions can come out in different ways from induction to interview. Pats Hall of Famer Mike Vrabel can now say he's done both. Thursday, the former Tennessee head coach interviewed in person in Boston for New England's head coaching vacancy. Vrabel spent 8 seasons with the Pats, and per our insider Jonathan Jones, is the favorite to land the job. The Patriots are scheduled to meet with Lions OC Ben Johnson on Friday. For the latest across the league, we now say hello to CBS NFL writer Tyler Sullivan. Tyler, countless reasons why this makes the ultimate sense. Vrabel to New England, you don't have to go far. I'm trying to figure out one why it might not, and I keep landing on risk-reward. Why put legacy on the line, risk the way that you're welcomed for a reward you already have? Am I overthinking this? What are your feelings?
Well, I mean, go look at no further to draw Mayo, right? I mean, this was a beloved linebacker for the New England Patriots, and I don't believe he's a Hall of Famer, but probably will be one day for his on-field playing career. And I think at the time, everyone was like, great, we love Jerod Mayo. Fast forward one season, he's out, everybody's booing him, screaming for him to fire him. So I guess there is a little bit of a concern there in terms of if Mike Vrabel is the guy in New England to be the next head coach, you do run the risk of, ruining your legacy as a player a little bit. Again, a little bit different. He's won championships in the Team Hall of Fame. I think fans are smart enough to separate the two. I think you could say same thing I think that they say about Jerod Mayo. Great linebacker, not a great head coach in the National Football League, at least at this point. But it is interesting to kind of see how this is maturing along, right? It does feel like things are trending in the direction that Mike Vrabel will eventually be named the head coach of the New England Patriots. As you noted, they met with him today in Boston to go over the vacancy. And again, you can do that with Mike Vrabel. You can meet with him in person. It's not like Ben Johnson, who they might have to meet virtually and kind of go a different route. And it will be interesting. Now, I think that this is it's the right way to go, but it's also, again, like you said, a little bit risky there. Mike Vrabel, very good head coach for the Tennessee Titans, very good in-game manager in my estimation. But you're right, there is a legacy here that could be at jeopardy if things don't work out, just like Jerod Mayo.
Hey, driving around in the tri-state here, you turn on those airwaves. They talk a little bit differently about Booney these days than they did when he was walking it off against Wakefield. I know no ring there. It's just where the mind goes is we're trying to figure out who's going to land where. That's the obvious one there. The Raiders, meantime, slowly cleaning out their front office. Thursday, parting ways with general manager Tom Telesco days after firing head coach Antonio Pierce. The Raiders first hired Telesco last January, just 6 weeks after being fired from the Chargers GM role. Vegas now looking for GM, coach, and quarterback heading into a new season. Jonathan Jones with more.
So what team fires their head coach and then 2 days later winds up firing their general manager? The Las Vegas Raiders do. That's the decision that Mark Davis has ultimately made, moving on from Tom Telesco. Just 48 hours after moving on from Antonio Pierce, just 24 hours after allowing him to have his postseason press conference. It is odd, it is unusual, but that's the choice that the Raiders have ultimately come to. Tom Brady is going to have a huge, gigantic say in the direction of this franchise. I would even argue he may be the ultimate deciding factor in who gets these jobs, but it is a clean slate for Las Vegas, and clearly Mark Davis over the past 2 days learned that this job becomes more attractive at head coach if there is a clean slate at general manager. So it'll be fascinating to see what sort of head coach Mark Davis is ultimately targeting here for the Las Vegas Raiders. It's a huge hire because consider the division that he's in, the AFC West, going up against Andy Reid and going up against Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton. You have to get a heavy hitter in this. And so moving on from the GM signals to me that they have an idea of the sort of coach that they want to bring in, and that coach is going to have a say in the personnel person that he wants in that position that was up until very recently occupied by Tom Telesco.
Jonathan Jones' latest reporting. Tyler, the why behind these things, it's usually results-based. The when can be more thought-provoking sometimes. What have you made of the slow trickle in the decision-making these last couple days? First coach, then pause, GM.
Well, I think it's a little bit interesting, but I think JJ kind of touched on it there, right? You know, you move on from Antonio Pierce, which is what I think a lot of people thought was going to happen. It was, again, a little weird with the timing. He had a press conference the day after the game, and then they fire him a day later after that. Usually, you wouldn't see that a little bit too much, but again, timing sometimes can be a little bit off. The thing for me, though, is the GM situation. I think they might have dipped their toe into the waters to say, okay, let's see what these head coaching candidates are looking for in terms of a landing spot. And as JJ noted in that piece, this division is not for the faint of heart. You are going toe-to-toe with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh. You need to bring someone that is A+, perfectly stamped, a bona fide coach in the NFL. If you have a little bit of a disjointingness with the front office and the coaching staff, no serious candidate is going to look at you seriously. And so if you're a Ben Johnson, if you're a Mike Vrabel, are you looking at this and saying, well, I don't really love Tom Telesco, but I got to go work with him now, and I have all these other opportunities somewhere else in the NFL, and it's only going to lead me to possibly struggle as a head coach in the National Football League? We all know head coaches get like 2 tries maximum in terms of being a head coach in the NFL. They have to make these opportunities count, and if they don't feel good about it in terms of the GM and the front office relationship, well, then they're going to look elsewhere.
It's simpatico with the situation currently in Duval, with Jacksonville retaining a general manager and the public reaction to that. We'll see what it is for Vegas moving forward. It will be a 4th different team builder in as many years. Back on field, Zay Flowers going to be a no-go this weekend for the Ravens. It's been a breakout sophomore season for Flowers, who has made up more than a quarter of Baltimore's receiving yards this year. The injury suffered in that finale will hold Flowers out of this wild card meeting with a divisional foe. All right, back with Tyler Sullivan. Tyler, when you look at this Baltimore team, a decided favorite, they're the one coming in full speed, flat-footed on the other side, but where will they feel this most going without Zay Flowers?
Yeah, see, this is what's going to be interesting to kind of see what this is. For Wild Card Weekend, missing Zay Flowers, of course, your Pro Bowl wide receiver, you know, he's been your go-to source for Lamar Jackson. That's going to hurt to some degree, but I don't think it's going to determine whether they win or lose this football game. Now, if you're telling me that Zay Flowers is now going to be sidelined for an extended period of time in the playoffs, which we don't know that yet, but we're just playing this out, well then, okay, that does limit the ceiling of how far we believe this Baltimore Ravens team can go. We know if they're going at the peak of their powers, this team can rival for an AFC Championship appearance, rival for a Super Bowl appearance. So if you don't have your number 1 wide receiver, that's going to hurt you. Now, again, as it relates to this coming weekend against Pittsburgh, I don't know if this is one of those situations where you're going to look back and say, oh boy, you know, if they just had Zay Flowers, they'd be able to take down Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This team in Pittsburgh has struggled to score 20 points. They haven't been able to do it over the course of this losing streak. I don't think Zay Flowers not in this offense for the Ravens is going to preclude them from scoring 20 points. They'll still do that with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. I think Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are going to be big factors, big beneficiaries of the target share that's removed now with Zay Flowers. But overall, this game, not so much you're going to miss Zay Flowers. Now, if you talk about a game against Buffalo, against Kansas City, yeah, you might want to have Zay Flowers in there.
All while Lamar tries to change that playoff narrative that's followed him. Nobody follows narrative like Tyler Sullivan. Thank you, Tyler. What a weekend we are in store for. It all starts this Saturday, 4:30 Eastern on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Our friends Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn kicking off the postseason on CBS.